All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a really fascinating journey. We're going from the heights of optimizing our physical performance with high-tech data, all the way to the unexpected mental toll that tracking can take on our health. We live in an era where we can measure absolutely everything about our bodies, right? But what happens when that data goes from being a helpful tool to a harmful obsession? Well, that is the tracking paradox. To unpack this, we're going to hit a few key areas today, starting with the power of metrics, looking beyond the bathroom scale, and what happens when tracking turns toxic. Then, we'll get into treating orthorexia nervosa, figure out how to stop counting, and finally, how to find your balance. So, here's the big question. Are your fitness trackers actually making you healthier? Sounds simple enough, but as we'll see today, the answer is way more complicated than just a basic yes or no. It really depends on what you're measuring, how you're measuring it, and honestly, how your brain processes all that information. Section 1. The power of metrics and optimizing performance. Let's kick things off with the good stuff, how data acts as the ultimate foundation for our physical progress. When used correctly, tracking is an absolute game changer. Take these 5 specific metrics, for example. They give us a beautifully holistic view of our endurance. Think of base fitness as your body's fitness bank account. It's a 42-day rolling average of your training load. Then you've got your resting heart rate acting as a window into your recovery, and your VO2 max showing your cardiovascular efficiency. By keeping an eye on these, you aren't just blindly running out there. You are tracking exact physiological adaptations so you don't burn out. And getting better isn't just about staring at a calendar for 4 to 6 weeks. It's actually about your brain. The NSAM Neural Continuum brilliantly illustrates this. It shows how we master movement through 3 distinct neurological phases. You start in the cognitive phase, where you literally have to think about every single movement, right? Then you move to the associative phase, and finally the autonomous phase, where your body just naturally does the work. Tracking where you are in this continuum is exactly how trainers safely level up their clients. Speaking of safety, tracking your mobility and range of motion is absolutely crucial. Get this, a staggering 4 out of 5 runners get injured every single year. 4 out of 5. Building a body that can actually handle the stress of sports is the primary way to avoid becoming part of that statistic. And mobility isn't just about touching your toes. It's about having the functional range of motion required for your specific activity. The way we track this mobility has completely transformed, too. We used to rely on these clunky manual tools, like goniometers, that a professional had to physically place on your skin to measure joint angles. Today, it's incredible. Artificial intelligence platforms like Chemtai can track your movements just using a standard smartphone camera to give you instant, highly accurate feedback. It makes tracking your physical readiness so accessible. Moving on to Section 2, beyond the bathroom scale and accurate measurement. Let's see how bad tracking habits build into the flawed ways we traditionally measure our body composition. Because let's face it, bad data can be just as frustrating as having no data at all. If you are just stepping onto a standard bathroom scale every morning, you're getting a wildly incomplete picture. Think about it. Up to 75% of the human body is just water. A standard scale is so easily tricked. It literally cannot tell the difference between fat, new dense muscle mass, or simple fluid retention caused by hormonal changes, eating some extra carbs, or even just having a salty dinner the night before. To truly measure your progress, we have to look past the scale and that standard BMI formula, which honestly often miscategorizes highly muscular people as overweight anyway. We need accurate tools. Skin calipers are great if a pro uses them, but the absolute gold standard here is a DEXA scan. It uses an X-ray to precisely measure your exact body fat percentage and lean muscle changes. It is the real deal. Which brings us to Section 3, when tracking becomes toxic, the dark side of data. This is where we need to execute a sharp pivot. We are swinging the pendulum all the way from the high-energy world of physical optimization over to the severe psychological costs of becoming totally obsessed with this exact same data. Now, wanting to eat healthy is obviously a good thing, but there's a medical condition called orthorexia nervosa, and this reveals the absolute danger zone. This happens when tracking calories and avoiding supposedly contaminated or unhealthy foods becomes an all-consuming obsession. It goes way beyond just being on a diet. It involves these rigid, self-imposed rules where a person experiences severe anxiety or distress if they can't comply. It can literally tear apart a person's daily life and social functioning. Section 4. Treating orthorexia nervosa. Treating this intense level of obsession requires a clinical approach.
Professionals have to essentially step in to repair the mind's relationship with both the food and the data surrounding it.
So how do they do that? Well, there are several specific psychotherapies used here. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, helps patients recognize and rewrite those rigid, unhelpful thoughts about food. ACT helps build mental flexibility. DBT teaches patients a really cool concept that two opposing things can be true at once, like accepting yourself while also changing your behaviors. And then exposure therapy safely reintroduces those feared foods to prove that nothing terrible is going to happen. The whole goal is to decouple a person's self-worth from their dietary rules. Because orthorexia can range from moderate daily distress all the way to physically life-threatening restriction, care is mapped out across 5 distinct levels. It scales all the way from 24-hour medical stabilization in a hospital, right down through residential and partial programs, all the way to regular outpatient check-ins. The system is designed to provide the exact level of support needed to help someone take their thoughts back. Section 5. How to stop counting and break the cycle. If you're listening to this and realizing your own tracking habits are bordering on obsessive, but maybe you don't need clinical intervention, there are some highly actionable ways to break the cycle on your own. I absolutely love this metaphor from Talia Sacelli Nutrition. It says that changing this behavior is literally like trying to brush your teeth with your opposite hand. Obsessive calorie counting actually wires neural pathways in your brain, so your brain starts doing it on autopilot. To stop, you have to actively starve those pathways of attention to build newer, healthier habits. And yeah, it is going to feel really uncomfortable at first. And if you need a logical reason to let go of the rigid counting, just remember this: 20%. The human brain alone uses approximately 20% of our total daily energy requirements. This is why that blanket rule you always see online, that adults only need 1,200 calories a day, is a total myth. An average adult female requires that much just to breathe and sleep before she even digests food or gets off the couch. So, what are the practical steps? The most effective thing you can do first is remove the external triggers entirely. Delete MyFitnessPal. Toss the food scale in the trash. Literally put tape over nutrition labels. You can also try something called opposite actions. If your brain is screaming at you to pick the low-calorie option, deliberately choose the higher-calorie one. Prove to your brain that the data doesn't matter anymore and that nothing bad is going to happen. Finally, Section 6, finding your balance, health over habit. Let's let the pendulum settle right in the middle as we figure out how to maintain our physical health without burning out our minds. Here is the absolute truth. True wellness comes from nourishing your body consistently over a long period of time. It absolutely does not come from beating yourself up because you couldn't log the exact macros of a dinner your partner cooked for you or because you enjoyed a slice of pizza. Health is a long-term average, folks, not a daily exact science. When you're stepping back from the tracking, you essentially have 2 paths. You can go all in, quitting cold turkey, taking off the smartwatch, and hiding the scale today. Or you can go gradual, intentionally choosing not to track one snack a week, and just building from there. Whichever path you choose, the most important thing is simply committing to the change and giving yourself some grace while you do it. Data and metrics are incredible, powerful tools that can help us run faster, lift heavier, and stay injury-free. But at the end of the day, they're just that, tools. As we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on today. Look at the numbers you obsess over in your own life. Are those fitness metrics serving as a tool to empower you, or have they subtly become a cage? Thank you so much for exploring this with me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.